We have so much to talk about on today's episode. Step Forward 2.5 happened, and we also got 2 additional shows uploaded to Wrestle Universe. We'll preview the OchaPro show, digest the January 4th Korakuen press conference, talk about all the talent announcements for upcoming shows, and check in on Yuka Sakazaki in Ring of Honor. Oh, and a very happy birthday to Raku. All that and more coming up on the Tokyo Joshi Pod. Stay tuned. Hello to all you big children out there. Konnichiwa! And welcome to the Tokyo Joshi Pod, your weekly dose of everything TJPW. I'm your host, Andy Zyke, and what a week it has been. I'm going to keep today's intro short since we have so much to dive into. Happy December. I hope you're all staying warm, gearing up for the holiday season. This past Tuesday, we released our first interview on the show, Hype Talk TV's Alessandro. I hope you're all enjoying that conversation just as much as I enjoyed having it with Alessandro. In fact, Alessandro just released an interview, I believe today or yesterday, with Marigold's Chikagoto. That was a really, really fun one to watch, so go check that out on all of his channels and support Alessandro. My thanks again for him coming on the show. I'm working on some other interviews, some collabs, some year-end content, so thank you all so much for tuning in. Please keep coming back. Check out the show every week. You never know what's going to be coming up. I wish you all a very happy holiday season, and I thank you all for supporting the show week after week. It really does mean a lot. Without beating around the bush anymore, let's jump into the news and the announcements. We've had so much information come out over the last 6 or 7 days. You could probably put together a small newspaper with the amount of news that TJPW has been releasing. I've bucketed these, rather by show, I've bucketed these into like different categories of types of announcements. So I want to start with all of the talent announcements that we've been getting over the last week or so. TJPW has announced that Max the Impaler will be making their return to Japan, and that they're actually going to be around for about 2 months or so, it said. And that when you add up all the shows that are taking place in that 2-month span, Max will be around for 9 shows in total. This is going to be Max's first appearance in TJPW since March of 2025. They were last wrestling for the company at Grand Princess 2.5, so quite a while. And as mentioned, 2 months for Max, 9 shows. Their first show will be December 27th. That's the year-end party event, and they will be here through February 15th. And so within that 2-month window, we'll also see Max wrestle on TJPW 2.6, the January 4th show. And then during that window, the Max Heart Finals are also taking place, or the Max Heart Tournament, I should say. The Max Heart Finals being on Valentine's Day, February 14th. Now, this wasn't a part of the announcement for Max, but I have to imagine that they will be participating in the Max Heart Tournament. If they're around for the duration of the tournament in full, it would make the most sense. Perhaps we'll get an announcement about that closer to the end of the year or the beginning of the year. Personally, I would love to see a reunion of Palm Paler, Max the Impaler, and Palm Harajuku. They're always a delight when they get together. But overall, big fan of Max the Impaler. Love that they are returning to TJPW. I love their work that they do with some of the girls in TJPW. It's so entertaining. So welcome back, Max. In other talent announcements, Sareee has been announced for Grand Princess 2.6. This one totally came out of left field. Grand Princess 2.6 taking place on March 29th from the Ryogoku Kokugikan. Sareee has appeared in TJPW before, so this is not a first-time appearance, albeit Sareee is like at the top of the Joshi scene right now. But this will be Saree's first appearance with the company since 2020, so over 5 years ago. So really quite the hiatus for Sareee from the last time she was here in TJPW. But boy, was not expecting that announcement when that one was released on Twitter, but very pleasantly surprised. Like I said, Sareee is truly at the top of the Joshi mountain right now. And I mean, you can really see Sareee almost everywhere. She's in Marigold, she's in Stardom, she's in Sendai Girls, she's, you name it, she's been wrestling there. She has her own shows that she wrestles on. So absolutely love to see TJPW inviting her in to the company for this massive, massive show in March. On top of that, if we couldn't get any bigger and any more surprises at the press conference for the Korakuen Hall January 4th show, and we'll talk about that press conference momentarily. This will be our segue, but TJPW has announced the return of Mirai, coming back to TJPW for her first time since 2021. Now, we've been covering Mirai a little bit here on the show. She was a part of Marigold, ended up leaving that company just a few months ago, I want to say, and went, I guess, freelance for a little bit, but then signed with Michinoku Pro, which is a company that is based out of her home prefecture. And in a lot of interviews, Mirai was talking about that, how she wanted to work for a company that was a little bit closer to home. And she gave some interesting remarks at the press conference, which we'll chat about. But this is wild in all of the best way possible. We have Mirai, we have Sareee, we have Max, and that isn't even to mention some of the other names that have been previously announced for the start of the year. J-Rod coming back to TJPW for the January 4th Korakuen show, and then the show right after that. Aja Kong will also be on that January 4th Korakuen show. Yuka Sakazaki is making her return to TJPW. She'll be on that January 4th Korakuen show, and Grand Princess 2-6 in March. The TJPW is really stacking the deck to start the year out. These two shows are going to be absolutely massive. They are every year, but this year in particular, TJPW is really not pulling any punches. Here's a hot take for you. I think the only way that they can kind of top all of these announcements is actually supposed to be another announcement as I'm recording this show, for somebody who will be appearing at Grand Princess 2-6. They said it is a competitor based in the US who is of Asian descent, so that does kind of narrow it down, but we'll have to see as we get there. But my hot take would be really the only other way to further elevate either of these shows, January 4th or Grand Princess, let's bring in Natalya. Let's call up WWE, bring in Natalya, and get a singles match between Natalya and Miyu Yamashita. Now, some of you might be thinking that's kind of random, or why WWE, it's so different, yada, 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 whatever preconceived notions you may have about WWE. There was a really terrific match between Natalya and Miyu Yamashita at one of the Bloodsport events. I want to say it was over WrestleMania weekend in April. I might be mistaken about that, but a really, really terrific match. And of late, on social media, Natalya has been shouting out Miyu Yamashita, and I think like Cody Rhodes got in on it too, or something like that, or CM Punk. Somebody like really big in WWE also jumped on that train, and Yamashita acknowledged it. Of course, such high praise from such big names in the industry. Let's have it happen. Let's bring in Natalya. Let's do a special singles match against Miyu Yamashita. TJPW is billing the Grand Princess 2-6 show as TJPW's biggest event ever, something like that. I think that would really, really take it and cement it in that biggest show ever category. I'm really, really excited to see what else is in the cards for both of these shows, quite honestly. So speaking of the January 4th Korakuen show, also known as TJPW 2-6, also known as Itinyon Korakuen, a lot of names for that one, TJPW held a press conference just yesterday, Wednesday, December 3rd. This was live on YouTube, and we had a few match announcements and some comments from some matches that we already knew were taking place. But let's run through what went down on this press conference. It was a pretty big one. I don't want to say uneventful because obviously we saw Mirai make her appearance here, so like probably the most eventful thing. But within the comments that were made, nothing too crazy was said, nothing too emotional. But we'll run through. We do have a match that was announced. It is what I'm calling like a rookie match. Two of the three trainees that were introduced at Wrestle Princess 6 are going to be making their debuts on this show, and we'll have a tag team match. We'll have Uda Takami teaming with newcomer Henri, and they'll take on Ren Kanatsu and Shion. Now, both of those names, Henri and Shion, are like temporary names, so those may change by the time January 4th rolls around, but those are either their real names or their trainee names that they're using. There is still one other trainee. Let's keep her in mind. I believe her name was Yuka. Yuka was not announced for this show, but we'll have to keep tabs on when Yuka's debut will be coming up. All four of these women were at the press conference. They gave some very brief comments. Probably the most notable thing that came out of this was Uda Takami was asked if she had advice for all three of the other women, Ren Kanatsu also being a junior to Uda Takami. And Uda had the same advice for everybody. She gave it piecemeal, one by one, to each of them. Avoid injuries, which I guess is really smart advice. But to kind of reinforce that, she had good luck charms for all of them, and she passed them out individual good luck charms, which was a cute gesture for Uda. Someone from the press also asked Shion and Henri why they got involved with TJPW, which wrestlers they looked up to, and I always think that this is super interesting. Shion said that she admired Miyu Watanabe and Shoko Nakajima, and Henri said she admired Kamiyu, Wakana Uehara, and Miyu Watanabe. I believe Henri also mentioned Kamiyu at Wrestle Princess 6 as well. So from what I could tell, they were seated obviously, but from what I could tell, Henri did seem to be a little bit taller than a lot of the other women. So maybe Henri drew inspiration from Kamiyu, given the size, her height, what have you. I think this is going to be great. We haven't had new trainees debut since Ren Kanatsu. Ren Kanatsu was the only rookie member of the 2025 class, so it's nice to see we're going to get two 2026 rookie members right out of the gate. We also had some comments for the Princess Tag Team title match that will be taking place on this show. This was announced. We'll cover kind of how we got to this match coming about in our show reviews this week, but Uber Eats is going to have their third title defense against Yuki Aino and Haru Kazushiro. Now, at this press conference, Haru Kazushiro and Yuki debuted the name for their team, and from my understanding here through translations, it is Spring Thunder, Raging Flames, Prism Greed. That's the full name of the team. I'm going to call it Prism Greed for short. I think maybe that's going to be what they shorten it to, but Prism Greed will go with for their title, their team name. Pulling out some notes from their comments, Kamiyu said that Aino and Haru don't really make her heart beat at all, that her and Wakana are a much more viral tag team than those two. In a funny moment, Haru said that she views Wakana like a mother, and that kind of caught Wakana off guard a little bit. Wakana's not that old, and she's certainly not much older than Haru. I guess Haru is still a teenager, only 17, 18 years old, but still, certainly not old enough to be her mother. But Haru said it more as like a term of endearment, that she was very caring and sweet and giving with a lot of the people around her, Wakana that is. But Haru also mentioned that despite that nature, she is very frustrated that Wakana is very modest with the accomplishments that she's gotten to date. So kind of some interesting comments there from Haru Kazushiro. Aino said that Haru works quite hard behind the scenes. She is one that is always putting up posters, selling tickets at DDT events, that she really has a drive that isn't necessarily seen. This was in counter to Kamiyu's viral comments that Haru Kazushiro works hard behind the scenes, and not everybody really sees that. And then Kamiyu had to, of course, get the final word. She always does. She said after they defend their titles, she wants to start up a food truck with menu items that speak to Uber Eats. And if Haru Kazushiro loves to work so hard, she'll throw her on the grill. And Haru will man the grill, and Aino will work the register. So lighthearted way to end that. But this is shaping up to be a pretty interesting tag team title defense. So looking forward to that on January 4th. And then, of course, we got the biggest news coming out of this press conference. The International Princess title will be defended. Arisu Endo's third title defense against Mirai. There was an audible gasp when the match graphic appeared. I know this was open to the public as well, so it was not just members of the press. But there was certainly a gasp from the crowd when Mirai's picture came up on the screen, and rightfully so. This truly came out of nowhere. I think you could even say, Sareee at Grand Princess, you could make a case for it just because Sareee is bouncing around everywhere. But truly, truly a wonderfully pleasant surprise. You could tell that Arisu was just visibly excited in her comments. She just had that nervous energy, just that excitement in everything that she was saying. She did mention this is going to be the first time that she defends her belt against a senior. So this will be Arisu's, certainly her toughest challenge to date here. Mirai mentioned that this press conference was taking place on her birthday, so happy birthday to Mirai, and that she views this match as a bit of a birthday present. She also mentioned that she has her sights set on winning the belt, of course, and defending it against someone that is currently in TJPW. She did not name anybody, but she really kind of teased winning this and then maybe appearing at Grand Princess and defending it. I want to be clear, Mirai has not been announced for Grand Princess yet, but it kind of feels like we might get her for Grand Princess, whether she wins or not. So that's certainly exciting. That is certainly a way to make that show even larger. And the last thing of note here, Mirai said that while she was with Stardom and while she was with Marigold, she loved her time with both of those companies, but that the opportunity never presented itself to compete in other promotions. I don't know if that means that she was trying to compete in TJPW or trying to just appear outside of those home promotions, but the way that she phrased it was that the opportunity never presented itself. Take that for what it is. It could completely be a timing thing. Maybe there's something more underlying there, maybe not. I don't want to speculate. All I know is that these days Mirai works for Michinoku Pro. Michinoku Pro is more than happy to let her compete everywhere else, and we're going to get this banger of a match on January 4th. So let's just take what we're given here and really, really, really look forward to this show. On top of those three matches, of course, we know that we have the Princess of Princess title being defended, Miyu Watanabe's V4 taking on Suzume. We also have the annual singles match between Hyper Misao and Shoko Nakajima. There's supposed to be 9 to 10 matches in total, so we do only know 5 of them so far, so only half the card has been announced so far, so there's still more to come. Don't forget that we know that J-Rod will be at this January 4th show. Max the Impaler will be there, Aja Kong will be there, and Yuka Sakazaki. And we do not know any of the matches for those 4 competitors, so there's still a lot to come for this match. I am actually talking with the guys over at Talk Joshi, friends of the pod, Andy Heder, Matt Turner. They do a terrific job. If you ever want coverage on shows outside of TJPW, they do cover TJPW as well, but they talk a lot about Sendai Girls. Of course, Matt Turner runs the Marigold Standard, the Stardom cast alongside Rob Goodwin. So if you're ever looking for additional Joshi content, check out all of their channels. We're talking about getting together and doing a preview for this January 4th show. As friend of the show Matt always says, card subject to change, but we're going to try to make it happen later on this month towards the end of December. Should be a really, really good show to preview. Definitely a show deserving of such a big collab between the Tokyo Joshi Pod and Talk Joshi. There's a couple of other smaller news items I just wanted to briefly touch upon. The TJPW Live in Bangkok pay-per-view information has come out. This show is on Saturday, December 13th. We'll have a full preview of this in the weeks to come, but TJPW announced that this will be available on Wrestle Universe as a pay-per-view for 2,500 yen, which is around like 15 or 16 US dollars. That's if you are a Wrestle Universe member, which I imagine if you're watching a lot of Tokyo Joshi or listening to a Tokyo Joshi podcast, a lot of you probably are. It's slightly higher. I think it's like 3,500 yen for non-members, which I think would probably be about $20 or $25 somewhere in there. But another pretty palatable cost for this Bangkok show. So looking forward to that. We'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. I do also want to mention that Christmas has come early. When I saw this morning, I was beyond excited. You could probably say I was more excited than the Sareee news than the Mirai news, to be completely honest with you. Picture book reading pro wrestling is on Wrestle Universe. Now, I haven't had a chance to watch this yet. I am just chomping at the bit to get to it, though. I am so excited. But the Book Cafe Picture Book Reading Pro Wrestling show has been posted on Wrestle Universe. It was only about an hour, it looked like, and remember that includes like 6 picture books being read. And then there's one, what they're calling like a Falls Count Anywhere match, like a street wrestling style match. So I can't wait to watch this. Perhaps once I do get a chance to sit down and watch it. I know we talked about the event a little bit on the show, but once I get a chance to watch it, maybe we'll cover it in a little bit more depth and just kind of see what secrets kind of await us here with this delight of a match. And then last and certainly not least, want to give a happy birthday shout out to Raku. When this show releases on Friday, December 5th, Raku will be celebrating her 28th birthday. So big happy birthday shout out to Raku. All right, so let's jump into our reviews of the week. There's actually 2 shows that we can talk about. We have part 2 of the organizing festival that was shared on Wrestle Universe. I know we spoke a little bit about the results already on last week's show, so I don't want to dive like too deeply into all of this, but I did check this show out. I do want to just kind of run through what happened in just a little bit more detail. So this show took place all the way back on Monday, the 24th of November, from the Itabashi Green Hall in Tokyo. Remember that Miyu Yamashita was absent. She was touring Europe at the time. This show, similar to part one, only about an hour and a half in length, so it was a nice kind of a 2-for-1, if you will, if you want to watch these back to back. And then a reminder again, the attendance for part two was 190, which TJPW did bill as a sellout. The last time at Itabashi Green Hall, obviously not counting part one, the afternoon show, was in the summer of 2024, where they drew 194, so right in line with that attendance number. Rise Shirai gave some opening remarks on the house rules. We received a solo Shino Suzuki performance. She came out and sang My Theory, which is her theme song, similar to the afternoon show where we had a solo Uda Takami performance, so nice to see that from Shino. Our opening contest, a singles match between Raku and Ren Kanatsu. This was a funny match. Raku came out wearing a hat of some kind that was like a sheep. And basically, she just kind of toyed with Ren early on. She ended up playing keep away with Ren's keychain, where her and Uda Takami were just kind of tossing it back and forth. They were just bullying her at this point. Ren did get a little bit of offense in. She threw Raku's sheep hat into the crowd, but Ren does ultimately tap out to the front necklock in 7 minutes and 33 seconds. That's a little bit of a newer move for Raku that she's been using of late, so it's cool to see her use it as a finish and also get the win using it as her finish. Overall, very one-sided match. Afterwards, Raku continues to bully Ren. She steals her sheep. She puts the hat on Ren. There's a lot of bullying on this show that you'll see, but overall, a pretty one-sided but fun match. The second match was Wakana Uehara taking on Mifu Ishida in a singles match. Mifu came out wearing this really beautiful purple gear, and I don't know if it's new or not. Maybe she was wearing it at a previous show, but it's very sparkly. It's very royal purple, a deep purple. It's beautiful, beautiful gear. These two started off with a lot of chain wrestling, which naturally segues into a cheerleading competition, right? That's how most chain wrestling ends up. Mifu tried to surprise Wakana during this cheerleading competition with a roll-up, but was not able to pin her there. They had a pretty competitive match throughout the rest of it. Mifu actually looked really, really good, I thought, in this match. Wakana does ultimately win this, though, with the Sushi Tornado in 9 minutes and 9 seconds. In our third match, we saw Shino Suzuki take on Shadow Mizuki. Mizuki was in control pretty early in this one. She did bite Shino on the arm pretty early on. Shino had a little bit of brief offense. We do get the turnbuckle tour guide spot. She toured 2 turnbuckles today, but that didn't really stop Mizuki too much. She was right back in control. Shino took an absolute beating in this one. And if you recall a few weeks ago, maybe a week or so ago, we were talking about Shino being the ultimate underdog. That was really showing here. The crowd was very behind her. They were clapping, they were shouting her name, and I think that says a lot. To be able to generate that level of crowd interest, that's a big deal. Shino ultimately not able to overcome the giant wall that is Mizuki, though. Mizuki wins with a face lock in 10 minutes and 34 seconds. The face lock is like her cross-face submission. She hardly ever uses that. Mizuki has a lot of rare moves that she just kind of keeps tucked away, and every once in a blue moon she'll bust it out, and this cross-face lock is one of them. After this match is where we saw even more bullying. They did shake hands, but Mizuki kind of kicked Shino away towards the end. So a lot of bullying on this card for some reason. In our semifinal, we had our last singles match of the show. Shoko Nakajima wrestled Pom Harajuku. These two have actually wrestled twice before. Shoko has won both of those head-to-head contests. This match was insane. Pom comes out wearing an inflatable T-Rex costume. Yes, I seriously mean that. Go look at the pictures online. This thing must have been at least 7 feet tall because it just towered over everyone. I was going to say Shoko, but really everyone. Shoko comes out and she is confused as all heck. She has no idea what's going on. Pom bites her in the costume quite a bit, chases her all around the venue. Ren and Mifu Ishida are there seconding the match, and they just get sacrificed to this Tyrannosaurus Rex. That's the second time today. If you remember in the first part of this show, Ren was sacrificed to this blindfolded Himawari, so Ren did not have a really good day at Itabashi Green Hall. Shoko outsmarts Pom, though, and literally throws her out of the venue. She opened up the doors, threw her outside, and then closed them and locked them, and she locked Pom out of the venue. Pom, she did find another door to come into, though, and narrowly avoids getting counted out. Somehow Pom is able to jump off the second rope in this costume, and Shoko just basically has had enough of this, and she just starts to beat the crap out of Pom so badly that somehow the costume starts to deflate. I don't know if she like poked a hole in it, or maybe she found like the release valve or something. I don't know, whatever it would be. But Palm, ever the crafty 3-year-old, is able to wiggle out of the costume when Shoko's not looking and kind of surprise her while she's attempting to beat the crap out of this costume, thinking that Palm is still in it. Palm sneaks up from behind, tries to surprise her, but at the end of the day, Shoko proves who the real kaiju is here, beats Palm with a Northern Lights suplex in 11 minutes and 58 seconds. I did realize after this match was over that Shoko's hair looks a little bit more like reddish purple. It's normally kind of like an auburn color, and it looked a little bit more like reddish purple today. And you have to forgive me for not noticing that. Obviously, earlier there was much bigger things going on with an inflatable T-Rex costume, but looks to be like a little bit of a different hair color for Shoko. Palm did give some comments backstage after this match. She was back inside of the T-Rex costume again. Apparently all of this was done because she was celebrating her 7th wrestling anniversary, so congratulations to Palm Harajuku for that. She said that she wanted to debut a new costume, but she had a little bit of trouble wrestling in unfamiliar gear. I think that's probably the understatement of the century, but she did thank the fans and all of her coworkers for their support, and she said that she probably would not have gotten this far in wrestling without everybody's support. So congrats to Palm on 7 years of wrestling. In our main event, we had a tag team match. Miyu Watanabe tagging with Toga. Remember, this is Miyu's second time wrestling today. She did have to sub in on the afternoon show for Rika Tatsumi, who was sick. The team of Miyu and Toga took on Haru Kazushiro and Suzume. So this is our first preview for the Princess of Princess title match on January 4th. I would be remiss if I didn't start by mentioning, across from the hard cam, there was a young girl in the crowd who was like the world's biggest Miyu Watanabe fan. It was so adorable. She had the shirt, she had the cheer towels. She couldn't have been any more than like maybe 7, I want to say. She looked like she was there with her father or some family member, and she was just having the time of her life, really the whole show. But like when Miyu came out, this girl went to another level. It was really, really cute. Toga and Haru start us out. There is a little bit of brief history there. Those two wrestled each other in the Next Gen Tournament 2-4. They also came together and challenged for the Princess Tag titles previously, so some light history between the two of them. Suzume comes in and beats up on Toga for a little bit before Toga is able to make that hot tag to Miyu, and we finally get the first face-off. And let me tell you, Miyu was not pulling any punches here. She was shouldering Suzume into the turnbuckle. She was hitting her with just some wicked backbreakers. Suzume did have a few brief flashes of speed throughout that sequence, but Miyu certainly started with the upper hand. Kazushiro found her way back in. Miyu was able to hit the giant swing on her. She also goes for a backbreaker. Suzume tried to run in and stop the backbreaker from happening, but Miyu was just too strong. She kept batting her away while she was holding onto Haru. Really crazy strength from Miyu. We get a really wonderful sequence where Miyu hits a laser beam on Haru, and Suzume just comes in out of nowhere and hits the ring a bell. It was like a really like RKO out of nowhere moment for Suzume with the ring a bell. And then Suzume just gives her like the nastiest looking side eye. She glared at Miyu so strong, like she was there, she was ready for it. That was awesome, awesome, awesome looking. However, while she's staring down Miyu, Toga is able to recover and ends up taking out Suzume with a really hard forearm. Shortly after that, Miyu pins Haru with a teardrop in 14 minutes and 27 seconds. After this match is over, Miyu and Suzume stare each other down a little bit. Miyu and Toga end up closing out the show with Miyu's typical call and response, "Do you love TJPW?" And then everybody says, "I love it." Typical call and response from Miyu. And then we do get some backstage comments as well. Miyu gives what I can really only describe as like her best like Steiner math impression, saying that she's not splitting her focus 50-50 between Suzume and Matcha, her other upcoming title defense, but rather she's giving both of them 120% each. But with Suzume's strength and like the forearm in this match that Suzume hit her with, that knocked her down to 90%. So she needs to gain back that 30%. And like Toga was trying to follow along, and she was like, "No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying." But like Miyu was literally just like throwing crap out here. She had, I don't know. Miyu's backstage comments are always a wild ride, and this one was certainly confusing. I only wish that gentleman in the press was there who always interacts with her. I'm sure they would have had a really funny moment, but he wasn't, unfortunately. Suzume gave some comments as well. They were a little bit more like normal, shall we say. She said she's fully focused on Korakuen, whether or not Miyu has that other title defense. She is looking forward to facing Miyu and taking that championship belt from her. Overall, this show was about on par with the afternoon show. You got a little bit of everything. I think I described the afternoon show as like a buffet style of wrestling where you just get a little bit of everything. The match of the day, though, between both of these shows was certainly that tag team match between Miyu and Suzume. If you want to check out even just one match from both of these shows, check that one out, that preview match for the Princess of Princess title. Really tremendous stuff. And then just last weekend, on Saturday, the 29th of November, we had Step Forward 2-5. This emanated from the Azalea Taisho Hall in Osaka. Also video on demand. I believe this one came out just on Tuesday. This was a little bit over 2 hours, so back to like a normal TJPW house show runtime. Miyu Yamashita still absent here, still touring Europe. Unfortunately, Rika Tatsumi also had to be pulled from this show. She's suffering from tonsillitis, is what was announced. So that explains why she couldn't make the Monday show at the Itabashi Green Hall, and then also had to be pulled from this Step Forward show. Now, I will say there has not been a show between this Step Forward event and then the upcoming OchaPro Korakuen show on Sunday the 7th. So Rika is billed for that OchaPro Korakuen show. Hopefully, she is feeling better and her tonsillitis has subsided. She has made a lot of comments about appearing on this OchaPro show. She wants to gift the DDT Iron Man belt to her favorite OchaPro or Ocha Norma singer. So really, hopefully, Rika Tatsumi's feeling better. I suppose we'll find out in just about 24 or 48 hours if she is. Back on this Step Forward show, the attendance here was 288. The last time that TJPW was at the Azalea Taisho Hall was actually just back in February of this year, where they drew about 300. The 288 number TJPW did call a sellout, so they are roughly within the same range. Both of those were sellouts, so 288, pretty strong number, especially given the winter months and kind of in a little bit of a lull as we build towards the beginning of the year with TJPW. Of course, we open with Rise Shirai giving her remarks and the house rules, and then we have an Up Up Girls performance back together again for the first time in a few shows where they sang Kawatsuyo Challenger, which was the Cute and Strong Challenger song that debuted, gosh, maybe like a month or two ago now. It was quite a while ago. They kind of snuck it in on a weekend where they had two shows and then just went back to singing Love You More, Labimoto. So cool to see a little bit of diversity. There's so many Up Up Girls songs. I'm curious what we're going to see when it comes to the OchaPro show. We'll talk about that in a second. They're giving like a full set, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. Kicking off Step Forward was a singles match between Toga and Chika Nanase. Fairly basic match here. It was mostly 50-50 offense for both of these women. The one thing that really stood out to me is that Chika has been showing a lot of frustration in her matches lately. She's been screaming and yelling a lot, and like, I know this all sounds negative. I don't mean it in a negative way at all. There's a few times in this match where she screams at Toga, and I'm not saying that in like a Shawn Michaels Vader type of way. I'm saying that in like a character development type of way. I think it's really interesting that, if Chika can hone that part of her character and become this like frustrated, disgruntled, almost like a heel, I want to say, like a little bit of like a tweener in between face and heel. TJPW doesn't really have heels and faces. They really don't have anybody that is like evil or a villain in that sense. I think Chika can pull that off. I think it would be kind of neat if that's the direction that she goes in her character. Maybe I'm really just reading like way too much into it, but that's what I took away from this was Chika does show a lot of frustration in her matches, and it would be so cool to see her turn that into like a character trait for her character. Oh, and I should mention the victor of this match. That's probably important. Toga does ultimately win this with a rock bottom at 8 minutes and 28 seconds, and she hit this rock bottom so hard. She drove Chika into the mat. Chika was like grabbing at her head afterwards. I hope she was just selling, but that impact on that rock bottom was brutal. I didn't see any sort of weirdness after the match. It looked like Chika was fine, so perhaps she was just really good at selling the impact. The second match was a tag match. The team of Raku took on Ren Kanatsu and Uda Takami. In a really cute moment, Ren came out dancing with Uda as they entered together, and then Raku came out and like they tried dancing too, but I don't think that Palm told Raku she wanted to dance, so Raku just kind of had to like make it up as they went, and just she didn't really seem to expect that. But it was really a funny and cute moment. Raku starts this wasting literally 0 time sleeping. She actually lied down to sleep during her opening call. That has to be a new record, I imagine. Based on the participants here, this goes about as you'd expect it to. We have an Oyasumi Express. We have a lot of comedy, a lot of screaming. There's some pillow suffocation at one point. Palm steals Ren Kanatsu's sheep and holds it at gunpoint. And she didn't have a prop or anything. It was like a finger gun, but yes, she did hold the sheep at gunpoint. And then at one point, there's a shootout between Ren and Palm, just like truly wild stuff. The things that really make TJPW TJPW at the end of the day. Palm does win this match. She pins Ren Kanatsu with a Palm to Justice at 8 minutes and 23 seconds. And then after this match is over, Palm steals the sheep again and holds it at gunpoint as she walks out of the venue. Ren has just been getting so bullied of late. I am not here for that. I don't appreciate that. Give Ren her sheep back. She just wants to wrestle with her sheep keychain. That's all the girl wants. Just leave her alone. Let her be. We don't need any guns. We don't need any pillow suffocations. This one was wild in the most TJPW way possible. Next up, we had another tag match between Mizuki and Mifu Ishida, who teamed together to take on Haru Kazushiro and Yuki Aino. Mizuki really tried to torment Haru and Aino for most of this match. Aino was having like none of it. Mifu Ishida had to distract Fumarin, the referee, with a cheer so that Mizuki can kind of cheat her way and grab the hair of both of her opponents. And then Fumarin kind of wisened up to that and got this match back on track. Overall, a pretty solid match. The best pairing here definitely being Yuki Aino and Mizuki, probably unsurprising. I would love another singles match between the two of them. The last time they met one-on-one was in the Tokyo Princess Cup first round this year. So it's been a minute, and I would love to see a singles match between the two of them, maybe with some bigger stakes involved too. This match ultimately, though, is won by the team of Yuki Aino and Kazushiro when Aino pins Mifu Ishida with a Venus DDT in 10 minutes and 40 seconds. After this one was over, Haru officially asked Yuki to be her tag team partner. They've been teaming together on and off of late, and Haru just basically said that she really valued that and that she wanted to be a stable, present tag team partner. We know that Aino has had tag team partners in the past who have either graduated from TJPW or they are freelancers in other companies, so they are not like always around for Aino to tag with. So Haru basically called out these former people, not called out these former people, but mentioned to these former people that Aino used to tag with and say that she wants to be around for Aino's full career. She wants to be there as her tag team partner. So Aino really liked that. Long story short, they're officially a tag team now. In the next contest, we had a three-way match. Hyper Misao took on Mahiro Kiryu and Yuki Arai. This was originally supposed to be a tag team match. Shoko Nakajima was going to be a part of it, but had to do some creative maneuvers with Rika coming out, having to pull out of this. So, three-way match here. Pre-match, Misao tried to convince Yuki Arai to team up. Mahiro took a lot of exception to that. She tried to forge her own team with Arai, but then ended up just double-crossing everybody, and then she apologized for that. So, bit of a funny moment. This match goes about 8 minutes and 4 seconds. It ends with Misao pinning Mahiro with a La Magistral cradle. Pretty short for a three-way bout, but each woman got their stuff in. There's a bit of action, bit of comedy. Really don't have much more to say beyond that for this one. Next up on the card was a singles match between Shino Suzuki and Arisu Endo. And I just want to take a pause here because this match was excellent. These two beat the crap out of each other on a house show without the IP title on the line. Arisu has really elevated since winning that IP title. She's wrestling like on another level, I would say, right now. Shino herself of late has been wrestling really, really well, kind of arriving at the party, if you will. Of course, we know that Shino plays her role best when she is fighting from underneath, and that is what a lot of this match was. Arisu does win this with the Juno Okite at 8 minutes and 39 seconds. I would love to see 15 minutes of this in a Shino International Princess title challenge. Book it right now because I think that they can do it. I understand that we are ways away from that. Shino just lost her tag team title challenge. Shino doesn't win very often, period, and she is likely not in a position currently to challenge for the IP title. But in this match, she proved that she can hang. and Shino's been having a really terrific run, about as good as of a run you can have, despite losing a string of matches. So I do think that Shino is capable of proving herself in an International Princess title match in a similar way that Uda Takami just did recently. And, not too long ago, an Uda Takami International Princess title challenge was a far-fetched idea. So I do think that Shino is capable of it, and I would love to see it happen sometime. Our semifinal match was a tag team match between Uber Eats taking on the team of Kira Summer and Kaya Toribami. Uber Eats starts us out beating up on Kira for an extended period of time. I was actually really intrigued by the face-off between Kira Summer and Yuki Kamifuku. That was something I hadn't seen before, at least not in a really long time, and I kind of thought that they worked really well together, so that would be an interesting singles match at some point too. And I think it's good that I enjoyed it, because that seemed to be the majority of this match. Every time I was kind of tuning into this, it was Kira Summer and Kamiyu in the ring together. We did get a little bit of Wakana. We did see a little bit of Kaya, not too much, but for the most part, Kira was in the ring here and Kamiyu was in the ring here, and it actually worked out pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised with this one. Kamiyu does pin Kira with a Famouser at 11 minutes and 28 seconds. After this was over, we get a Princess Tag Team title challenge, and not from Kira or Kaya. This is where Yuki Aino and Haru Kazushiro make their appearance. Prism Greed come out, and they challenge for the Princess Tag Team titles. That, of course, was accepted on the spot. It was booked for January 4th, and then they gave their comments during the press conference that we spoke about earlier. So we will officially see Uber Eats take on Prism Greed. These tag team names are on another level recently. Prism Greed is not quite as much of a mouthful as Bumping Gritters was, but Prism Greed, they're going to have to do some work to make that grow on me between now and Korakuen, but we'll see. And our main event of Step Forward was a tag team match between Miyu Watanabe and Shoko Nakajima taking on Himawari and Suzume. This is our second preview match for the Princess of Princess title match. Miyu is up 1-0. However, in that previous match, Miyu did not pin Suzume. It was the one we just spoke about, where Miyu pinned Haru Kazushiro. I'll also note, originally this was supposed to be Daydream teaming together, but with Rika Tatsumi getting tonsillitis, had to pull out, and they sub in Shoko Nakajima instead. This one started out hot. We come right out of the gate with Miyu and Suzume. Suzume took the early advantage in this match due to all of her speed. Miyu had to, at one point, dip out of the ring and compose herself. Suzume was working so quickly. She does come back in, hits some power attacks, and then eventually is able to tag out, and we see the other tag team partners, Himawari, take on Shoko Nakajima. They have a really nice spell together, and it kind of reminds me of their MLW encounter from not too long ago. At one point, Miyu tags in, also has a really nice exchange with Himawari. There was some really, really terrific wrestling in this from the get-go, truly. We get a second battle between Miyu and Suzume. In this one, Miyu starts on the attack with a lot of power moves. There's this really neat spot where Suzume is able to block a giant swing. She grabs the ropes and then kind of head scissors Miyu over the ropes to the outside of the ring, and then hits this big plancha. And then when they come back in the ring, she hits a diving crossbody from the ropes. Suzume goes for a lot of flash pins. She locks in, I think it was like an octopus stretch. It was a really nice maneuver. Miyu had a lot of trouble with it. Somehow or other, though, Miyu was able to counter that into a spinning teardrop. I don't know how she was able to pull that off. Probably only Miyu and Suzume could do that. But that looked really, really cool. But then down the stretch, Himawari and Shoko Nakajima come back in, and you'd be remiss to think that that was a downgrade. These two women really brought it. They were moving full speed down the home stretch of this match. Himawari hit this really interesting neck breaker. She had Shoko in the ropes and was able to jump over the ropes or through the ropes. Really inventive maneuver. Suzume tries to come in and hit a face buster on on Shoko. They miss it. There was a little bit of miscommunication or something, but they kind of recovered nicely because Miyu jumped in the ring immediately and absolutely clubbed Suzume in the back with a laser beam. But then Suzume is able to recover and hit a face buster on Miyu. They were moving so fast. It was honestly so difficult to keep up with who was doing what and everything that was going on. This one does ultimately come to a conclusion at 15 minutes and 42 seconds. Shoko Nakajima pins Himawari with a double Northern Lights suplex. This was tremendous. This was truly, truly a tremendous match. Not only was it nice and long, over 15 minutes, but they're really building up the story between Suzume and Miyu really well. And as I was watching this, I was getting the sense that Suzume might be able to pull this out if she can chip away at Miyu, wear Miyu down, like, I don't know, use her endurance, use her speed or stamina, use her flexibility, her inventive offensive maneuvers. There's ways that Suzume can get to Miyu and kind of counter out of a lot of Miyu's powerful moves. And I think this was kind of the first glimpses that we started to see of that. And I don't know, they've really sold me that that Suzume could do this if she, plays her attack strategy right come January 4th. And I think that's great. This is a successful build, and we're only like 2 preview matches in. I'm sure we have plenty and plenty of matches still to come between these two competitors before January 4th. After this was over, Miyu actually jumped out of the ring. Suzume was trying to head to the back with Himawari, and Miyu jumped out of the ring and got right in her face and held up the belt. And that's some aggression that we don't always see from Miyu. Miyu's usually a little bit more reserved and polite, I guess is maybe the better word than reserved, just more polite. And she was right up in her face. That was awesome to see. Truly, they're like I say, they are really building well to this, and we are only, I mean, a month away, only a month away, I guess, but still a month away from this January 4th show. Miyu and Shoko did close out the show. Shoko called their team the Mega Double Champions, I guess because they just both hold world titles. Shoko also warned Miyu not to get stung by the bee that is Suzume. I thought that was funny. Miyu also found it really funny, and she kept laughing, and Shoko was like really serious about it. And she was like, "Why are you laughing? Stop laughing. I'm serious. I'm giving you advice." Funny moment. They closed the show. Backstage comments, Suzume said that she supports Miyu in her title defense in Thailand, that she's going to be rooting for her. Miyu vowed that she will defend her belt in Thailand, and then also go on to January 4th and defend against Suzume. Before I jump into the preview section of the show, we just hit 6 p.m. here on the West Coast, so I had to go and take a peek at the announcement for Grand Princess, and we have Lei Ying Lee coming on to Grand Princess. So add that to the number of people that TJPW is bringing in. Current TNA Knockouts champion Lei Ying Lee. She has appeared in TJPW before. I want to say she was on the January 4th Korakuen Hall show in 2025, just earlier this year. So she has competed before, obviously not as the TNA Knockouts champion. She did just win that title a few weeks ago or something like that. Cool name. Awesome to see. I wonder if that means we'll get a TNA Knockouts title defense at Grand Princess 2-6. Anyway, on to the event preview of the week. This coming Sunday, the 7th of December, we have OchaPro Korakuen from Korakuen Hall in Tokyo, Japan. Remember now that this will be a pay-per-view on Wrestle Universe. Costs about 3,000 yen, or I should say it costs 3,000 yen, which is about $20 or so US. And this will be at a nice time for us over here. It will be starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. So if you do purchase this pay-per-view and support TJPW, you should be able to watch it live. You won't have to wait until the following day or anything like that. And noting that 9 p.m., 6 p.m. time being Saturday for us here in the States. So Saturday night, you don't have to be up for anything on Sunday except for maybe football if you like that. But go ahead and support TJPW. $20, not too bad of a price for what we're going to get here. And let's actually jump in and talk about what we're going to get here for that price. I'll first note that there will be one absent competitor here. I'm already laughing. Shoko Nakajima is absent due to various circumstances. Take that for what it's worth. There's also been a lot of announcements over the past couple of weeks. There's going to be various guests joining the commentary table. There's going to be an MC for this show. There's going to be somebody that's like in the ring announcing the competitors from time to time. That's not Rise Shirai, obviously. So there's a lot of different like guests and kind of rotating guests that are going to be peppered throughout this whole show. TJPW did announce actually the full run of show for this event, which was kind of cool. So we'll start out with the Up Up Girls performance, and remember that they're going to be covering an Ocha Norma song. So I imagine they'll probably sing maybe like 2 of their own songs and then do the Ocha Norma song, something like that. The opening match will be a tag team match. Himawari and Haru Kazushiro will team together to take on Uda Takami and Arisu Endo. That's probably going to be, low-key, a really good match. All 4 of those competitors have had a lot of momentum of late and have just been really performing really, really well. The second match will be a 6-woman tag. Raku Palm will be teaming with Ryu Mizunami. Aniki's coming in for this one. They're going to take on the team of Chika Nanase, Mihiro Kiryu, and Shino Suzuki. After those two matches, we'll have our first Ocha Norma performance, which is supposed to be about 20 to 25 minutes of songs from them. We'll then have a tag team match where we'll see Ren Kanatsu and Wakana Uehara team together, and they will take on a special masked duo, Kaya Toribami and Ochanor Mask. This is the masked competitor from Mexico, Ochanor Mask, who is coming in to replace Shoko Nakajima. Again, Shoko Nakajima out for mysterious circumstances. Probably has nothing to do with the same mysterious circumstances that Kogama and Hazuki were experiencing that had to pull out of the Goddess Tag League and be replaced by similar masked competitors. Probably has nothing to do with that, right? Anyway, that'll be a fun match. I think it's going to be cool to see a masked tag team duo here. After that match, there is something called a fun game corner. Have no idea what that is, but really, really excited for whatever the heck that's going to be. In the semi-final, we will see a six-woman tag, and now this is the big kind of fun six-woman tag that's being billed. OchaPro Korakuen, the team of Rika Tatsumi, Miyu Yamashita, and Mifu Ishida. Fingers crossed that Rika is feeling healthy enough for this. But on a positive note, Yamashita, back in Japan here. Those three will take on the team known as Coffee Breakers. Hyper Misao, Yuki Kamifuku, and Kira Summer. Remember, Misao and Kamiyu much prefer coffee, and Ocha Norma is more known for tea and drinking tea. So here come the Coffee Breakers. I think this is going to be interesting. I don't know if coffee is going to have anything to do with it or tea. Knowing TJPW, there's going to be some sort of shenanigans here. I'll also note Rika technically is still the DDT Ironman heavy metalweight champion, so perhaps that plays a little bit of a role here too, although I don't know who would try to pin her for it. Maybe Yamashita, Mifu Ishida. I can't really see Kamiyu going after that belt. Probably Misao, actually, as I look at these names. Would be kind of interesting and wild to see like Kira Summer go for it. Kira Summer as the Ironman champion would be a lot of fun, but we'll have to see. This match is going to have a lot going for it. Prior to the main event, we'll have the second Ocha Norma performance, again about 20 to 25 minutes, and then the main event will be a six-woman tag team match. Yuki Aino, Miyu Watanabe, and Toga will take on the team of Yuki Arai, Mizuki, and Suzume. So quite a loaded tag team, six-woman tag team match there. Looking just at these names, it feels like Toga's in there to take the pinfall or the submission, what have you here. But all that being said, this is our third Princess of Princess preview match. So if the last two are anything to go by, plus the competitors that are getting added into this one, this is going to be one heck of a match. Noting that Miyu is technically up 2-0 here on the preview matches, although no one, Suzume nor Miyu, have pinned each other. In fact, one of those matches, they weren't even involved in the final fall, so take that for what it's worth. But technically, Miyu is up 2-0. I think this has really shaped up to be an interesting looking show. These variety type shows, TJPW does these maybe like once a year, I want to say. I think the last one was when Yuki Arai graduated from SKE 48. If you're not into like idol performances and that J-pop style music, if that's not much of your cup of tea, no pun intended, then maybe this isn't the pay-per-view for you. Maybe it's not worth your $20, but quite frankly, looking at some of the matches we're going to see here and whatever the heck the fun game corner is, I think that's worth $20, my personal opinion. But this will have a lot of singing, a lot of J-pop, a lot of idol performances. So if that is not up your alley, perhaps this one isn't the show for you. Maybe just wait. Typically, these pay-per-views get put up on Wrestle Universe like a month or two later, just as part of the Wrestle Universe subscription. There has been a little bit of news with some graduates and some excursions, some alumni, so want to briefly whip around a few names here, and I want to start with Yuka Sakazaki. So not only is Yuka coming back to TJPW in early 2026, but she is currently wrestling in Ring of Honor. And we mentioned last week that finally, she's having her quarterfinal match, or she had her quarterfinal match, I should say, in the Women's Pure Title Tournament. Last Friday, November 28th, she defeated Serena Deeb in about 10.5 minutes. All of these shows air on the Honor Club subscription service for Ring of Honor, so you can check this one out. This was actually a really good match, surprisingly. And I say that not with either of the competitors involved, but typically Ring of Honor is taped after like marathon shows of AEW, and the crowd is just, worn out at that point and not really in it. And some of the matches that you get on Ring of Honor are more up and coming talent or more, I don't want to say unpopular, that sounds kind of mean, but the newer names, the less well known names, like I guess that means unpopular, but hopefully you get what I'm trying to say. For this one, the crowd was super hot, and that was a pleasant surprise. The crowd reaction was a pleasant surprise. The match was a pleasant surprise. The result was a pleasant surprise. You would think, given Serena Deeb's style of wrestling, that more like technical style of wrestling, that this was the perfect tournament for her, the perfect title for her. Yuka somehow able to pull up the upset here. As I mentioned, a nice match. I won't do a full play-by-play. I do think it's worth your time to seek it out and watch it. There's really an interesting ending where Yuka is able to pin Serena Deeb. Serena has her foot on the rope, but in these pure rules matches, you only get 3 rope breaks, and Serena had exhausted all of her rope breaks, so she was not able to break up the pin by putting her foot on the rope, and the referee proceeded to count the pinfall there, and Serena wasn't too happy, so there was a little bit of like a story there. There's a little bit of like, I guess like a protection for Serena Deeb, but all that being said, it's a good match. I think it's worth your time. Yuka Sakazaki moves on to the semifinals. And here's where things get like kind of crazy for this tournament. We waited like 5 months for the quarterfinals to happen, and now we're gonna like speed through the rest of it in literally 2 days. So today, as I'm recording this, Thursday, December 4th, Yuka has her semifinal match against Billie Starkz on Honor Club. Should she win that match, or whether or not she wins that match, the finals for this pure women's title tournament will be taking place on Friday, the day that this show comes out, Friday, December 5th. And it'll either be Billie Starkz or Yuka Sakazaki, and they will take on, I believe it's actually Deonna Purrazzo. It was supposed to be either Deonna Purrazzo or Queen Aminata, but I believe earlier before recording I read something that Queen Aminata is not able to compete or something like that. I'm not sure if they're going to sub her in or if it's a forfeit or whatnot, but those would be the other two on the other side. So we go from a marathon to a sprint here with this Ring of Honor title. Quite frankly, I don't think that Yuka's going to win this title. I do think she gets past Billie Starkz just based on, her stature alone. And then perhaps we see a really good match between Yuka and Deonna. Yuka probably losing that to Deonna. This seems like a title made for Deonna's style, but who knows? Seemed like a title that was also made for Serena, and Yuka was able to pull off the upset. So we'll see. Definitely worth your time. Check out the match from last Friday. Check out these other two if you'd like to as we close out this week. In other AEW news, AEW Ring of Honor news, I kind of lumped them together. Mina Shirakawa has advanced to the finals of the AEW Women's World Tag Team Title Tournament, and her partner is Timeless Toni Storm. Together they make up a team called the Timeless Love Bombs. A little bit of like a word salad, but I think it's still apt name, right, for Mina and Toni. I'm not sure when the finals will be. They just had the semifinal on, I want to say it was Dynamite this past Wednesday. It was like some sort of a hardcore match, a holiday hardcore match or something like that. It was fun. It was interesting, but Mina and Toni going to the finals. I think that these tag titles are kind of ticketed for these two ladies, so we'll have to see how that goes. And then I want to briefly touch on Maki Itoh as well. Maki had a booking in Italy at SAJ Final Belt 4, SAJ Squash a Jobber Wrestling, our favorite wrestling company by name. Saturday, November 29th, she was able to defeat Flamingo in a one-on-one match. I did a little bit of research. I have not seen this, but SAJ puts all of their events up on Vimeo, and I think they charge like $5 or something for their events. So if you really want to see Maki wrestle in Italy, this will probably be available in the coming days. Speaking of wrestling in Europe, Miyu Yamashita kind of finished up her Europe excursion over the last week or so. On Friday, November 28th, she was in France where she defeated Loriana at an event called it was put on by WPE and QPW, a joint show, and it was just called Episode 2, so perhaps the second show that these two put on. She also wrestled on Saturday, the 29th, at that same show in Italy, SAJ Final Bout 4. She defeated Luke Jacobs. She was originally supposed to wrestle another individual, and I don't know what happened there, but had to wrestle Luke Jacobs. Again, if you want to catch that, you can see both of those matches at that Italy show on Vimeo. And then she rounded out her weekend on Sunday, November 30th, in a loss to Alexis Falcon in Progress. This progress show was called Vendetta 3, and this is actually available on Trailer TV Plus. I was able to check this one out. Typical Yamashita match, nothing really exciting to write home about. There was a lot of kicks, a lot of hard strikes. Alexis Falcon had a similar style, so it's actually a surprisingly good match. So if you do have Trailer TV Plus and you want to see part of Miyu Yamashita's excursion in Europe, this is probably the best one to check out. And that brings us to the end of another packed episode of the Tokyo Joshi Pod. I think I need some cold spray and some ice packs, just from reading all of the news that happened this week. And it's not stopping. I think there's going to be a lot more news to come. Next week, we'll review the OchaPro show, and we'll also preview the Bangkok show. That's finally here as well. We'll see how far Yuka Sakazaki makes it in the Ring of Honor tournament. And who knows, I'm sure we'll get a lot of news between now and next week as well. I hope you enjoyed the show today. If you did, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss any future episodes. You can follow us at Tokyo Joshi Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and X. If you want to email the show, we have an email, tokyojoshipod@gmail.com. But above all else, remember to keep your hearts burning, stay magical, my friends, and we'll see you next week on the Tokyo Joshi Pod.